See the facts when there was still time. To end our addiction, fossil fuel addiction, dependence on future existence, inventions. Activate, advocate, organize, stand up and join the resistance. There will be a reckoning. Mother Earth is threatening us. There's no other choice. Hear our children's voice.
Secret is I just smile and say follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. My secret is I just smile and say live for today.
excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find. And with every passing day there's more calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for And I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. Living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be free. Meant to be free.
Ayan, isang maganda at makakalikasang hapon, Pinoy climate reality leaders and environmental advocates. I am Daniel Alexandrine Madriaga, a Pinoy climate reality leader, and I am honored to be back hosting today's episode of Klimatotohanan entitled Mag-ASUP Tayo, How Stories and Policies Intersect in the Campaign Against Single-Use Plastics. So joining me in this episode is Katia Ariana Tanglao, a fellow Pinoy climate reality leader from the Youth Cluster. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Dani. It's a pleasure to host this episode with you. And of course, hello to our viewers na makakasama natin tonight. You know, Dani, I am really excited for today's episode dahil for sure, marami tayong magiging key learnings about the climate and the environment. Let me start with this one. There was a study by the World Bank that says the Philippines generates 2.7 million tons of plastic waste, and 20% of these end up in the water, making our country the third largest contributor to plastic waste in the ocean. At linawin natin na this is not a nice to know information. This is very alarming. The people, the government, and the businesses need to act on this, especially because plastic pollution poses serious environmental and health risks.
Totoo, Ari. Kaya naman ang Climate Reality Philippines ay nag-a-advocate para sa reduction and eventual phasing out of single-use plastics through national regulation in support of the local policies already in place. Of course, we go further when we go together, so it's really wonderful to have partners working on this as well. And that's why it's a pleasure for us in the Youth Cluster to team up with Development Studies students from the Ateneo de Manila University for the Mag-ASUP Tayo campaign. But before we introduce them, Ari, maybe we can give our viewers some reminders first.
Yes, Dani. To our viewers on Facebook, we are giving away certificates of participation. Just comment your name and where you're watching from, and don't forget to answer the feedback form, which we will be sending in the comment section after this episode. Stay with us until the end of the stream to know the details of our Klimatotohanan challenge of the week. Accept the challenge and get a chance to win special prizes from us. Lastly, paalala lang din po na you can send us questions through the Facebook comment section. You can comment them down at any time of the show. Our prod team will be taking note of your questions so that we can ask them to our speakers during the open forum.
Thank you so much for those reminders, Ari. Before we proceed to the discussions, mag-shout out muna tayo sa ating Facebook viewers today. Hello po kay Alma M. Centinelyar watching from Lawak, Pangasinan. Good afternoon din po to Michelle Casipit watching from Sual, Pangasinan. To Diana Angela De Leon watching from Malasiki, Pangasinan. Ivan A. Carrion watching from Nueva Ecija. Maris Del Castillo watching from Cebu. John Carlo M. Tamayo from Taguig City. Danred Anticando watching from Negros Occidental. Hello din po kay sino to? Taga Salcedo, Eastern Samar. Wow, nakaabot din tayo ng Samar. Anonymous si viewer. Pero hello din po from Chelsea, Erica Arcales watching from QC. Sabi niya, go Polly. From Aaron Daniel E. Sarmiento watching from CHS Caloocan City. And to the rest of our viewers, maraming salamat po sa inyo for tuning in today.
Now, to introduce our speakers, we have the Climate's A team from the Ateneo de Manila University, the proponents of the Mag-ASUP Tayo anti-single-use plastic campaign. So today we have Polly Javier as the project manager, Angelie Molina as the deputy project manager, Trisha Cruz and Andrea Ong under the story-based campaign, Ryan Opinion as the project head for the Policy Note team, and with him are Robby Barrios and Justine Tansinsin, and Llorente, head of the translation team. Mag-ASUP Tayo has three major components designed to humanize the plastic problem in the Philippines. And this special episode serves as the culmination activity of all the learnings and experiences of the team in running the 3-week-long campaign. To better give us an idea about the campaign, let us call Polly Javier, the project manager, and Angelie Molina, the deputy project manager. Hi, Polly and Angelie. Please join us here to discuss the overall purpose and the components of the campaign.
Hi, Dani and Ari. First and foremost, thank you so much for having us for today's Klimatotohanan episode. We're really honored to be here as well. And as mentioned by Ari earlier, plastic waste is all around us and it's integrated in our day-to-day activities, which is why this project is so special for the rest of the team. I think to better understand the project a little bit more, maybe we can share our own slide deck so that there's a bit of a visual aid for everyone. So, Drea, would you like to share screen? All right, thank you so much. So as mentioned earlier, this is our project, Mag-ASUP Tayo 2022. Just a bit of background, we began this project with TCRP in September 2021. So it's been over 8 months that we've been working on this project. And we wanted to figure out how we could help the youth cluster's What's Up campaign. So we actually conducted a development assessment report. So it's basically assessing ano ba nangyayari sa organization, what are the parts that maybe we can improve on, parts that maybe we can support. And we came up with 3 goals that we thought was important and we wanted to bring to this campaign. So next slide, please. All right, so we decided on 3 important goals. Number 1, we wanted to really effectively engage with our LGUs and ensure that we're able to make an impact in their ASUP policy making. That's a huge part of the anti-single-use plastic movement. And we wanted to sort of create a document or maybe a database that could help, help sort of push the LGUs to make a difference. We also wanted to encourage people to really look at the experiences of the everyday Filipino when it comes to plastic, because it's always around us. We use it day to day, and we really wanted to humanize the plastic problem in the Philippines. And lastly, we wanted to make the campaign materials as accessible to everyone as possible. So kung nakita po ninyo, we had Filipino translations as well of our posts throughout the 3-week campaign. So all of these goals were sort of integrated nga po sa tatlong components namin. But I won't be discussing that. I'll pass the floor on to Angelie so she can sort of talk about it more in detail.
Okay, so thank you for that, Polly. Hello, everyone. As mentioned nga, Mag-ASUP Tayo has 3 project components. We made these in line with our 3 goals also that Polly mentioned. So the first component talaga is our policy note campaign. Here, we wanted to create a policy note with the aim of reviewing, providing recommendations, and influencing the plastic management policies of 3 local government units in Metro Manila. Specifically, these are Marikina, Makati, and Quezon City. So once that was done, if you've noticed, through TCRP's Facebook page last week, we also created a series of infographics summarizing each section of this policy note. So if you, in case you haven't seen it yet, you can see it through our Mag-ASUP Tayo hashtag through TCRP's Facebook page. Our second component naman is a story-based campaign. Here we wanted to give more of a human-centered perspective on the single-use plastic issue. We wanted to add to the policy note campaigns facts and figures, statistics on the plastic problem, and really humanize it by illuminating the faces and the voices of those involved in each plastic life cycle. The culmination of this campaign was a text and image-based content series, which was also posted on TCRP's Facebook page. For our last component naman, as Polly mentioned, you'll notice that there are 2 versions of our posts, one in English and one in Filipino. We wanted to ensure talaga na the materials we released were accessible to a wider range of people, which is why we set up this translations component. So yeah, that's it for the Mag-ASUP Tayo components. Back to you, Dani.
Thanks so much, Polly and Angelie, for sharing all of that with us. I can't wait to hear you discuss more about your findings later. For now, I really appreciate yung purpose ng bawat component. So more than reporting the numbers and the statistics, stories of actual lived experiences are really key to addressing these kinds of issues and crises. And all of these components, they really tie together to include and amplify the narratives and truth of the people. So the campaign, I also really love that there are Filipino translations. This is something that we haven't been able to tap as much before. It's not the easiest thing then to translate some English or scientific terms to Filipino, but you guys did it so well, and sobrang appreciate ko talaga yun. Nakikita dun sa translations yung effort to bridge or translate yun nga yung mga technical knowledge to the public to make it more digestible or understandable. Sobrang kailangan yan. So now, let's dive deeper into each component. Dapat na kasing mag-May, month of the ocean, which is very much impacted by plastic. Sorry, sabihin yun. Now let's dive deeper into each component of Mag-ASUP Tayo, starting with the policy note. We once again ask the team to join us here and briefly outline the process and contents of the policy note, as well as the learnings obtained from the 3 LGUs mentioned. So now I'd like to direct this to Ryan, since he's heading the team for the policy note. Maybe you could start us off with discussing the process that you followed in creating this document.
All right. So thank you for that question, Dan, and I'd love to answer it. So we created the policy note to really complement much of TCRP's already published content that focused on national ASUP policies, but we really wanted to start at the local level to really reveal how implementation was being done on the ground, along with the performance of the ordinances, and especially their effect on the socioeconomics of their constituents and on marginalized sectors. With that, we created a policy note document which analyzes the plastic waste management policies of 3 select LGUs in Metro Manila. Previous slide, please. We started with a small scope of 3 LGUs so that it would be feasible and manageable by our team, given the different limitations that we have, especially as students. And we also wanted it to serve as a model which can then be expanded to a larger scope in the future by TCRPs. So the three LGUs that we selected were based on, firstly, different criteria. And the first of these criteria is one, dense populations and proximity to industrial centers that source, manufacture, or use plastic. So these LGUs really have to be urban centers that are really dependent on the consumption and production of plastic or are located near these centers. And two, these LGUs have to be legally classified as first-class, highly urbanized cities. And three, we also wanted to note the presence of plastic waste management ordinances in the ordinances or the local laws of these LGUs. And four, we also wanted to make sure that these LGUs had the existence of materials recovery facilities. Now, Marikina, Quezon City, and Makati all fulfilled this criteria. And they were also, we are also personally, many of us are in close proximity or even living in these LGUs ourselves. And we also have experience. Some of us have past experience on dealing with these LGUs. Personally, I was an intern several times in the Marikina LGU under the Office of the Mayor. So I have experience with liaisoning with them. So which is why these were fulfilled most of the criteria of what we needed for the policy note.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us, Ryan. And I feel like your prior experience with Marikina as well really guided you in drafting the contents of the actual policy notes. So could you share a little bit more about what exactly is in the document?
All right. So regarding the contents of the policy note, what we wrote, the overall document have 5 main sections. So the first section is an introduction to the problem of single-use plastics in the Philippines. Ika nga. We summarize the general issues along with their gravity and impact on not only the lives of us Filipinos, but the health of our biodiversity and our climate. It also contextualized the problem through the perspective of the role and responsibility of the government. We mentioned the enacted laws passed by the Philippine Congress, such as RA 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, as I'm sure many of us in TCRP are familiar with, along with the role of the National Solid Waste Management Commission, along with LGU compliance and the state of recycling in the country. So the second section is a detailed overview of the plastic waste management policies of Marikina, QC, and Makati. So we highlighted the focus and coverage of their ordinances, the implementation and compliance rates, other details such as the collection of penalties and fines, along with their effects on businesses and the health of their constituents. After that, we analyzed the policies of each LGU. We compared and contrasted the coverage, implementation strategies, and the availability of materials recovery facilities, along even with the enforcement of fines and penalties by the 3 LGUs. This section, the policy analysis section, also involved SWOT analyses for the 3 LGUs, which highlighted the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of their plastic waste management policies and ordinances. Now, next slide, please. The fourth section was a list of recommendations based on the previous analyses, which highlighted the best practices observed from the 3 LGUs. So these recommendations, firstly, were among recommendations to improve the ordinances themselves. And the last set of recommendations were recommendations for the national government to enhance implementation of ASUP policies nationwide. And the fifth and final section of our policy note was a conclusion to the overall policy note. We also wanted to add several calls to action for our readers in order to really aim to leave a long-lasting impact for whoever was reading the policy note, whether they be a government official or policymaker or someone just interested. So that would be it.
Thanks, Ryan. What I really appreciated about this part, or what you tackled with your policy note, is that beyond the content of the ordinance, you also focused or studied how it was implemented, pati yung MRFs, pati yung fines, because the Philippines has, I guess, a history or a culture of having really well-written laws that are unfortunately not always implemented in the best manner. So really looking forward again to the later part of the show where you can discuss these findings. It's a good last question for Ryan, and then I'll direct the next questions to the other members
Please go ahead.
Of the team. So I think you already basically addressed this, but I guess could you tell us what the main objectives and purpose of the policy note really was.
Thank you for asking that question. I believe, yes, it's possible that we should make it more clear. So, a policy note is usually aimed at government policymakers to provide them with a brief yet detailed overview of a specific policy issue or problem, its current situation and history, along with possible solutions to solve the issue. For our policy note, we wanted to focus on the current inadequacies and inconsistent focus and implementation of LGU plastic waste management policies. So, based on the research and analysis, we intended to create a list of recommendations for our LGU and national government policymakers, along with an initiative to rally public support towards specific and tangible reforms. So, this policy note could also be expanded in scope and depth as it served as a model for future studies. So, those really summarize our intentions with the creation of this campaign.
Right, wonderful. Thanks so much, Ryan. So, ganda no kasi may recommendations na talaga kaagad. We're not just pointing out the issues and the problems here, but you already suggested solutions. So that's really amazing to hear. I'll direct this question to the Deputy Project Manager, Angelie. This is the exciting part. So could you share with us the findings that were obtained from the 3 LGUs?
Yes, of course. So I'll discuss
Well,
first
please.
our first LGU, which is Marikina City. So yes, thank you, Jaya. So Marikina's main policy that deals with plastic waste management is Ordinance 18 series of 2012. So this ordinance regulates the usage of plastic packaging and bags within the city. So under this ordinance, business establishments are banned from using plastic packaging material for dry goods. But they allow it as secondary packaging material for wet goods on the basis naman of practicality and also, hygiene. So it prohibits the use of styrofoam packaging and other similar materials as well. So Ordinance 18's complementary programs enable the maximization of its effectiveness. So among these were various awareness campaigns, public forums, direct ordinance distribution, and consumer incentivization. An example of this last one is their Bring Your Own Bag campaign, or the BYOB. So this resulted in the reduction of plastic littering within the vicinity of schools and markets. What's also interesting is that they noticed that the constituents of the city also began to use reusable bags in place of plastic bags. The city also noted that there was a reduction of waste sent to landfills and an increase in public awareness on proper solid waste management practices. So this allowed naman for cleaner drainage systems, which improved the water level control and flood management during rainy seasons naman. So that's it for Marikina City's findings.
Thanks, Angelie. Sorry, I think what's really interesting to note here is the reduction within the vicinity of schools and markets. Talaga, since our students or youth are very much, I would say, passionate or at least knowledgeable about, the effects of plastic waste and of its use, of its single use. So talagang reduced. I saw it as well when I was an undergrad. I even had a friend who would go around the university belt. Tapos mag-approach siya ng mga restaurants. Tapos she would ask kung pwede bang, she doesn't work for like the LGU or anything, QC to. She would ask the restaurants kung pwede bang maglagay ng sign na refuse single use, tapos kung pwedeng hindi automatic yung pagbigay ng straw, ng bags, because some establishments, they have the sign, pero parang naging habit na yung pagbigay. So it's really inspiring to see the youth, including Climate's 8, really working of their own accord, of their in their own time, their own effort to reduce the plastic that's being used everywhere. But I have a follow-up question on this lang. I'm also really interested in the public forum na program ng Marikina, because there's a lot of campaign trying to educate people, but to actually have a forum is really great para talaga makuha yung feedback din. Were they able to share more details about yung public forum na yun for the awareness campaigns.
Would you mind if I took that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, all right. So I can answer on behalf of Marikina. Because actually, when I was under internship in the office of the mayor, we were involved with kind of like conducting one of these public forums. So these public forums are actually not necessarily like formal like meetings with, let's say, for example, different like a committee meeting at like any government building or a table. Every now and then, or at least during the key implementation, the initial implementation phase of their policy, they ran public forums in wet markets or even near barangay halls to really reach out to not only large vendors in markets, but even to just small independent vendors or retailers, even yung mga those near the carinderia stores near wet markets, to really reach out talaga to different kinds of stakeholders regardless of their yun nga, of their size and classification. So these public forums were really aimed at yun nga, to the public in the spirit of informing the public. And based on this, they didn't only do public forums, but they also did door-to-door campaigns by directly distributing the ordinance itself, the full papers of the ordinance, along with details of these ordinances, so that the constituents, as Maricanos, are really informed of these ordinances. So I believe, yeah, that has to be mentioned and highlighted. And I believe that is one of the strengths of the policy on how they're able to effectively inform the public, regardless of our the nature of us having to deal with plastics, whether we're consumers or whether we're involved in the business of creating or distributing plastic. They were really able to target different sectors.
That's so great. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan. So yeah, I agree that is I would say that's also the strength of their anti-single-use plastic program nga, more than imposing fines to basically the general public. Napaka-effective talaga yung makipag-usap ng maayos to just inform them na kung bakit to nangyayari, bakit to ginagawa. So that's really great to hear. Congrats, Marikina. We'll go straight na siguro in the interest of time to Makati. So that's one LGU down. I'll revert now to Kat, who I think is covering Makati. So take it away, Kat.
Thank you so much. So for Makati naman, Makati City's main anti-single-use plastic initiative is called Ordinance Number 2003-095, or the Plastic Regulation Order. So this ordinance requires the use of environment-friendly materials in food chains, restaurants, supermarkets, eateries, and other establishments. So these establishments must provide biodegradable paper bags, cloth bags, and baskets for free or with a fee as an alternative to plastic bags. But of course, there are also exceptions like plastic bottles and sachets and yung mga lalagyanan ng mga wet goods. So meron pa ring talagang existing na plastic, but as much as possible, they try to reduce it by imposing this ordinance. And they also have established, along with this, a plastic monitoring task force, which monitors the compliance of establishments, that enforces the provisions of the ordinance as well, and recommends administrative sanctions to establishments committing any violations, because this ordinance also has fines na binibigay sa mga violators na establishments. And we can see in the policy note then now we have provided statistics there na nagpapakita na mayroon na rin namang improvement sa mga nahuhuli nilang mga number of establishments along the years. Change slide please. Ayan. In partnership naman with MMDA, they have implemented Recyclable Mo, Palit Grocery Co. So this allows residents to collect recyclable waste and trade it into grocery items. And then their waste will be recorded in their EcoSavers passbook and are usually claimed during the LGU's Mobile Materials Recovery Facility Market Day. So the LGU has made this program more accessible to reach different barangays by using a mobile truck for the collection of plastics and other recyclables with their incentives on hand. So yung mga incentives na to, this includes noodles, canned goods, and other grocery items. So overall, Makati's approach on their anti-single-use plastic ordinance focuses more on instilling discipline among its constituents. The city is open to discussing other approaches. Sabi ng aming representative from the Makati LGU, such as giving incentives for more effective compliance. And with the help of other institutions as well, such as MMDA, LGUs like Makati are influencing their constituents to switch to more environmentally friendly products. And so far, the performance of the Makati LGU has been effective as improvements can be seen in their yearly inspections to different establishments. And also more people are complying to the code and switching to alternative options for plastic products.
Thanks so much, Kat. I really like the recyclable mo palit grocery ko, no? May incentive din sila, and I like na ginagawa nilang more accessible to reach various barangays, because one of the things nga that sometimes you want to recycle, you want to submit or parang return your plastic, pero minsan hindi lang accessible talaga. There's no way for you, lalo na pag nagtatrabaho ka, minsan hindi mo naabutan yung collection. So I really appreciate that. Instilling discipline among its constituents. Natawa ko nung sinabi ni Kat, kasi yung Makati, diba, medyo reputation nila yan kapag sa traffic enforcement. Medyo intense talaga naman. Nakatakot mag-drive sa Makati. So it's not really on brand, basically, na discipline yung approach nila sa single-use plastic ordinance. May mga usually bang pumupuntang Makati? Di na ako frequently nakakapunta kasi, well, pandemic. So nakatakot ka mag-drive doon. Pero napansin niyo rin ba na reduced nga yung ano nila? Reduced yung single-use plastic?
Well, sa maraming mga establishments, hindi na talaga pwede yung plastic. Like even yung mga fast food chains, meron na silang mga disposable na spoon and forks, ganyan. Pero syempre, meron pa rin talaga sa mga maliliit na tindahan, hindi naman din talaga yun maiiwasan. Pero yun, so far, nakakapag-transition naman na, and napapalitan na talaga nila ng mas eco-friendly na alternatives yung mga plastic nilang ginagamit before.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kat. Now for the third LGU, third and final LGU, I'll pass it to Angelie to discuss Quezon City.
Okay, so Quezon City, okay. So at the current time, Quezon City has two main plastic management policies. These are ordinances SP2868 and SP2876. Both of these are series of 2019. So the first one, SP2868, also known as the plastic bag ban, it placed a total ban on the distribution of plastic bags by all type 1 retailers. So these retailers are, shopping malls, supermarkets, restaurants, department and grocery stores, and other retailers registered under the, I believe it's the Business Permits and Licensing Department. So as for SP2876 naman, it's also known as the single-use plastic ban. So this specifically prohibits naman the distribution of, as can be from the name, of single-use plastics and other disposable materials. To note lang, this ban applies only in restaurants and hotels within the city. So the ban includes, but is not limited to, plastic utensils, plastic paper cups, plates, coffee stirrers, sachets, single-use containers, and more. So what's interesting here is that it's only applicable to dine-in customers. It's not really applicable for, outside of a dine-in. So you still notice in Quezon City na restaurants still provide, plastic utensils and stuff when it's for takeout in fast foods especially. Next slide, please, Trisha. So as for the implementation naman of these two ordinances, because of the pandemic talaga, the implementation was temporarily lifted. This happened in early 2020, and it was only resumed a year later in March and June 2021. So it's difficult to assess talaga the effectiveness of these ordinances, especially since they've only been implemented for a year, 2021 to up until now. And monitoring is made more challenging because of, COVID restrictions. So there's really a lack of baseline data that can be used to know or compare if the city's plastic waste significantly decreases or not. So the LGU says that current baseline data comes from their WACS reports. These are waste analysis and characterization studies. So this baseline data is the same for the other LGUs as well. Ito talaga yung ginagamit ng mga LGUs to know if plastic waste decreases from year to year. So the latest ones, however, are from 2003 and 2013. So again, this is similar to the previous LGUs na the latest WACS reports are from 2013 or 2014 as well. I believe this is because conducting full WACS is like really difficult, especially given the scope of the cities. So I guess to remedy this naman, according to the Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department. Oh, Andrea, can you change slide, please? So yeah, to remedy this problem of lacking recent baseline data, according to the CCESD, they are the department in Quezon City in charge of monitoring the ordinances implementation. They said that they plan to conduct yearly reports naman on the plastic waste of the city starting this year, hopefully, since it's difficult to conduct a full WACS report na. So they've also been diligent in conducting on-the-ground monitoring, and they're also able to collect annual reports naman from the establishments so that they may start to assess the effectiveness of the two ordinances nga. So based on these two strategies naman, the on-the-ground monitoring and the annual reports, they found that there's high compliance with the ordinance's provisions among establishments. And as the CCESD mentions, establishments in Quezon City have been very cooperative in supporting the city's plastic waste reduction program. So to aid in these ordinances naman, the LGU also launched Trash to Cashback last year. This is a program that allows Quezon City citizens to exchange their recyclables, including single-use plastics such as sachets or your online shopping packaging for environmental points. And then you can use these environmental points to buy groceries. So this allowed citizens naman to practice better waste segregation and management, especially since the ordinances that I mentioned were focused more on the use of plastics within retail establishments. So yeah, that's it for QC.
Thank you, Angelie. And yes, I definitely have to agree with your report since I've been to QC recently, and in the establishments like in Starbucks, actually, when we went to eat there, they wouldn't give us plastic cups, and they'd actually give us they actually told us that it's in line with the laws that are being implemented by the LGU, and they'd only give plastic cups if you really need it, if you can't finish your food anymore and you want to take it home. So thank you so much for that, Angelie, and thank you to the Policy Note team for enlightening us, and also for taking the extra mile to popularize the technical contents of government policies and programs for the public to digest its contents and recommendations. So don't worry everyone, marami pa tayong gustong itanong sa Policy Note team. Pero in the meantime, let us hear some announcements from the Climate Reality Project Philippines.
Thanks, Ari. So first, for our viewers from Central Luzon, here is a reminder from CLTV 36, one of the official media partners of Klimatotohanan.
Take full advantage of the power of TV and digital media when you advertise with CLTV. Through CLTV, you can now have your very own TV commercial for your business at a reasonable cost. And not only is your business authenticated by a reliable and trusted TV station, you can also reach our captive audience through CLTV's various digital media platforms at the same time. Contact us to avail of these exciting advertising opportunities.
What a great video. And did you know that several precious metals can be retrieved from e-waste? These metals are usually obtained underneath the ground, which involves deforestation and mining. So you can help the earth breathe by simply donating or recycling your e-waste. Here's an opportunity for you. Learn more about how we can manage your e-waste by registering to the webinar, #TEP Talks, E-Waste Intensity and its Impact in Our Society, happening on April 29. Just go to tinyurl.com/teptalks01 to register. As you can see on the screen, the link is there, and the QR code is also there for you to scan. So go ahead and register now.
We are also happy to share that the Climate Reality Projects Philippines is supporting the Youth Climate Agenda 2022, spearheaded by one of our Klimatotohanan partners, Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, or YACAP. Malapit na ang May 2022 national elections, and as the climate crisis continues to worsen, we need leaders who will take on the task of pushing for a sustainable, people and planet-centered Philippines for current and future generations of Filipinos. So we need that climate leader. To learn more about this, visit YACAP's Facebook page at facebook.com/YACAP Philippines, which you can see on your screen. We have so many voters education materials, including the green platforms of candidates. So go ahead and check it out.
Yes, these are amazing platforms, so go check them out. And aside from that, Dani, from ripples to waves, every little action can cause a massive chain reaction. Together with Waves for Water Philippines, Ateneo Lex will be holding this year's Lex for a Cause. Turn the tides with a focus on providing clean and safe water to Filipino families in need. Stay tuned with us and see how you can help and turn your ripples into waves. Are you ready to turn the tides, everyone? Please visit facebook.com/AteneoLex to learn more.
Sa buwan ng Mayo, iilang araw na lang, isaalang-alang din ang kalikasan sa pagboto. With the nearing 2022 polls, it is important to have more in-depth conversations about critical environmental and climate issues in this critical decade for the climate. That said, Pagsibol brings us Green Thumb, a podcast series that tackles timely political and environmental issues in the Philippines. I love podcasts. You can play them anytime, whatever you're doing. So visit Pagsibol's Facebook page at facebook.com/pagsibolorg to know more about this.
All right. Thank you, Dani. Yes, I agree. Podcasts are amazing and you can play them anytime while you're doing anything. So, all right, going back to our discussion, let us once again call the Climate 8's Policy Note team to open your cameras. Kanina, the team listed the processes and contents of their policy note. Ngayon naman, let us ask the team, what recommendations does your policy note endorse and what are your key takeaways from the process?
Right, so can we get the slides brought up, guys?
Yes.
All right, nice. So the first set of our recommendations come from what we observed were the best practices from certain LGUs, which could be adapted to other LGUs to improve their own plastic waste management policies, reducing plastic waste in their constituencies. So the first of our recommendations is that consumer-targeted campaigns are effective as supporting programs for ordinances that target establishments. So such programs should aim at incentivizing consumers and targeting behavioral change. And we believe these are essential for the conduction and implementation of the reduction of plastic waste policies in LGUs, mainly because these targets consumers, those who are responsible for buying and funding the creation and distribution of plastic, and funding companies that aim to create and produce and distribute plastic for various purposes. So based on what we've observed from different LGUs, whenever they targeted consumers, for example, with Makati, their trash to cashback program, where they provided incentives for those who would return their waste to the LGUs, to their materials recovery facilities for recycling. They experience overall higher reduction in overall plastic waste yearly. So these were proven to be very effective, and we believe that it's a best practice which can be implemented in other LGUs. So the other recommendation that we have is that, for example, to give an example, Marikina focused on banning/regulating plastics based on the intention and use of the plastic instead of the nature or type of the plastic. So, for example, we see this in their ordinance where they banned plastic based on its intention. Plastics used to wrap dry goods, for example. So this really prevented loopholes and leeways on the part of establishments and distributors, mainly because sometimes they would just change the type of plastic that they create or that they use. So once they started legally codifying intentions, let's say, oh, they use this to wrap dry goods, it became very difficult for for those wishing to violate the law to find leeways to violate the law. So another recommendation attached to that is that LGU should legally codify the definition of single-use plastics in their ordinances. This would enable them to operationalize targeting specifically ASUPs or specifically single-use plastics, along with coordinating with different anti-single-use plastic campaigns such as the TCRP. And for the next recommendation, LGUs can also categorize retailers into different categories based on their size, industry, nature, or ability to access plastic alternatives. Similar to Quezon City's ordinance, where Quezon City classified retailers and distributors into two types. So the first type is large retailers capable of accessing plastic alternatives, and the second type are smaller retailers. So this considers the added difficulty of MSMEs and independent retailers in accessing plastic alternatives, as they're affected by plastic regulation ordinances disproportionately. So for example, in Marikina, when I personally interviewed one of the LGU heads responsible for implementing their plastic waste management ordinances, they stated that smaller independent sellers and retailers and MSMEs have difficulty complying with the law. So if they're able, so they really wanted to really hear the voices of those marginalized by their policies more. So we believe this should be implemented before, during the creation of policies themselves. So that ends our first set of our recommendations. And for the second set of our recommendations, these are directed towards LGUs, aimed at improving their current policies and enabling better implementation. So we have what are called as waste analysis and characterization studies. So these are studies conducted by the LGU, which basically review the type of waste that they have to deal with from their constituents, whether these be plastic waste or paper or different types of waste, along with the collection and the recycling of these wastes. So the problem with these studies is that often, more than not, in our experience with trying to access these studies, they're not really publicly available. You have to write a formal request to the LGU. Sometimes you have to approach the head. So we believe that for a recommendation, these should be publicly available and published in their different communication platforms. So there is greater transparency. And so researchers have easier access for the creation of studies similar to these. And our second recommendation for this section is that plastic waste management ordinances should also have specific target metrics along with specific succeeding transitory stages of phasing out plastics in the future. Ordinances should also prompt future LGU administrations to publish and lay out their plans to achieve ordinance targets. So we really believe, based from our analysis of policies and the implementation, that there should be specific targets for phasing out SUPs in the future. We shouldn't have like a band-aid policy at just reducing plastic. We should aim towards completely transitioning out of SUPs, along with the LGU stating targets for how this will be possible. So for the next recommendation is that LGU should initiate studies of supply and usage trends on plastic alternatives among their constituencies in order to inform incentivization of industries and enterprises towards using these alternatives. So based on our research, there's a lack of data on plastic alternatives in local community bases and their constituencies. We believe that the LGU should support these studies so that they would be better informed for the incentivization of plastic alternatives. So the next recommendation, we would just like to urge LGUs to establish greater partnership with micro, small, medium enterprises and LGOs that help promote the zero waste lifestyle and circular economics through initiatives such as the upcycling of plastic waste, refilling stores, and along with plastic-free deliveries and shopping. These are new innovations which we aren't really being tapped by most LGUs that we research on. And we believe that these new innovations, that great opportunities for partnerships exist for LGUs along with these MSMEs and these NGOs. And for the last recommendation for this section, we believe that it's essential that LGUs create local resource banks with all plastic waste management guidelines and ordinances presented in clear and concise manners for establishments and retailers to address their queries and concerns. So we believe that this recommendation was also informed by us having difficulty with accessing the certain specifics for the ordinances. For example, let's say for QC, there was type 1 and type 2. I mentioned that there were type 1 and type 2 classifications for distributors. We had several questions regarding that, but these were not really available or accessible to the public in a clear manner through a local resource bank. So we believe these should be implemented in every LGU. And so for the third and last set of our recommendations, next slide, please. These are aimed at the national government so that the national government may truly enable an organized and effective implementation of ASUP policies nationwide. So we urge the House of Representatives to, along with the Senate, the entirety of Congress, to pass House Bill 9147 or the Single-Use Plastic Products Regulation Act. This would operationalize a national definition of single-use plastics in the country and enable LGUs to act in a streamlined and coordinated manner. So this bill has been lodged in Congress for several years now. We believe that it should be swiftly enacted upon, and not only us, but also the LGU representatives that we directly interviewed also expressed that it's due time that this bill should be passed by the national government and implemented so that we have a legally coded definition of SUPs. And for our next recommendation, in the absence of such a law, the National Solid Waste Management Commission must issue the long overdue non-environmentally acceptable products, or the NEAP list, as mandated by RE 9003. So this has also been reiterated by TCRP several times before. The NEAP list is long overdue, so for 2 decades. And this list would enable the government to identify and eventually ban products that are deemed harmful for the environment. So these include different types of single-use plastics. So the next recommendation is that we believe it's important to fund the research and development of viable plastic alternatives, but not just funding these, but also establish mechanisms for accepting these funds. Can you guys go to the next slide, please? Yes, that's the next slide. And for the next recommendation, we believe that the government should establish resource platforms for LGUs in partnership with the DNR, the NSWMC, and other related government offices and departments, so that LGUs may be able to access pertinent current and future studies on plastic waste management and the best practices that the national government are experiencing through the implementation of national policies. And for the next recommendation, we also believe, based on our research on our policy note, that reviews on LGU plastic waste management must be regularly conducted by the national government. So this was raised by one of our LGU representatives from Marikina, he stated that the government doesn't regularly review the LGU policies of LGUs regarding their plastic waste management implementation. So he believes that the government should be more active and that these reviews should be done more regularly, and that the government should be proactive with the reviewing at least yearly the implementation and the conduction of the LGU ASUP policies. And for our last recommendation, we recommend that the MMDA enable LGUs to set up their own plastic recycling facilities by connecting LGU officials to suppliers of needed technology, along with sharing effective methods and best practices if possible, which would enable smaller LGUs access to technology and facilitate subsidies from the national government for these LGUs. Next slide, please. Yes, so that's just the list of our recommendations that we've stated in our policy note. And with that, I'd like to leave it to you guys.
All right, thank you so much for that, Ryan. And as you can see, the recommendations are actually very specific, and I definitely think that they could be implemented with the right endorsement. And also, it's really great to see that you guys were able to take a closer look at all of these policies and their implementation, and really recommend that things that will make them more accessible also to the public, so that these policies could be properly implemented. So after this, I would like to ask the team also your takeaways about this process.
Okay, so I will be speaking in behalf of our policy note team. So for our takeaways, we have realized that the creation of the policy note taught us that there are indeed LGUs that are taking action against single-use plastics. The institution and rules are there to help ensure that we are taking steps towards having more rules to help us with our waste management. The problem really lies within the enforcement and progression of more ordinances or laws in lieu of reports and feedback. Sometimes it can be the lack of consistency in government reports on whether improvements are being made. Many of the planned reports have not been updated, such as the non-environmentally acceptable products or the NEAP list, as Ryan has mentioned before, on a national level, and waste analysis and characterization study, or the WACS, for some LGUs. However, with this, it is also important to note that improvement in the implementation of waste management in general is something that is practically mandated from the RA 9003, meaning we as citizens do have a right and responsibility to hold our LGUs and government agencies accountable to the honest fulfillment of ASUP and proper waste management as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat, and thank you to the entire team. Just to share also, just want to highlight, I guess, or emphasize my key takeaways from listening to your findings. First of all, yes, yung resource platforms talaga, pag kahit simple Google search lang, no, sana nakikita natin yung mga findings na to, yung numbers na to agad, so that those citizens or those groups, those orgs, those whichever, kahit government body, other government body, kahit sino man gustong mag-implement sana ng program to help the anti-single-use plastic movement or effort, meron na tayong baseline figures. Data sharing is so important. Ang hirap mag-establish ng starting point if we don't know these numbers, the current situation basically. So super agree. I think Climate8, they're undergrads right now, and I think every undergrad student will echo this sentiment, no, na kapag gumagawa ng thesis or ng research, ang hirap maghanap ng latest na report. Minsan 3 years ago, buti nga kung 3 years ago pa, sometimes 5 years ago. And that's not to say na hindi existing yung mga latest. Siguro hindi lang nagiging accessible to the public, and that really is something that we need, because the more brains thinking of solutions, the better we can get to our end goal. And yes, I would also want to amplify the team's call for the national single-use plastic regulation. Last July, Climate Reality Philippines, along with several youth and climate orgs, released a statement Sakto for Plastic to end plastic-free July as a reaction to the passing on second hearing in the Congress of HB 9147. Unfortunately, since then, medyo slow on updates. Siyempre marami kasi tayong tinutugunan na crisis and issue pero hindi talaga pwedeng pabayaan yung plastic and climate, of course. Recently, there was also an EPR bill that was raised both in the Senate and in the House. And we just want to also clarify or amplify the sentiment or the call na HB 9147, comprehensive na rin sana yan. There are just a few provisions that we're calling for it to be, I guess, amended or edited. Climate's 8 focused on the whole life cycle of plastics, especially dun sa story-based campaign din. And HB 9147 can do a little bit more to do that. So we need to focus on the whole life cycle all the way from extraction, so beginning nung life cycle ng plastic. No? But these are things that we really want to get past and are really comprehensive and stable on the environmental front na bill. Yung NAIAP list din, grabe, imagine guys, 2 decades na pinas yung batas na yon. Sayang yung maging progress sana nung 20 taon na yon kung na-update lagi yung NAIAP list. So hinahabol talaga natin yun. No? Together, let's call for the NAIAP list to be passed, to be updated, and for the national regulation to be passed as well to aid the LGUs. Kasi as discussed by Climate's 8 team, for example sa QC, marami ng establishments actually na hindi nagbibigay ng plastic, especially mga fast food. Pag nag-drive-thru ka dyan sa McDo, Jollibee, take out sa Starbucks, maraming papel. Pero pag pumunta ka sa ibang cities, same establishment naman, same chain, pero hindi na papel, plastic na yung binibigay nila. So kung napass yung national bill or national regulation, sana we're all on board na. So thank you, Climate's 8, for highlighting that in your findings. Before we move on to the story-based campaign, I'd like to revert to you guys again if you'd want to add anything before we pass it on to the SBC team. All good naman. All right, go ahead, Polly.
All right. So I feel like my group mates and Dani have sort of said all the takeaways that we really had from this policy note experience. But I realized how important it is for people to work together to end this problem, because there are things that, for example, the Makati LGU may be doing that other LGUs can sort of look at and see if whether or not this can be adapted into their own policies and if that fits their current situation. So it's really important that all LGUs are able to talk together and sort of come up with different ways to end this problem, because it's kind of difficult if it's just centralized to one specific city. What about if we have more people who are talking about it and we talk about more alternatives? So hopefully that can happen in the future. Hopefully this policy note document is the first step in that. And what's great as well is the LGUs that we've spoken to were really ecstatic to have a copy of the policy note document, not just because they wanted to see our evaluation of their policies, but also because they wanted to know what other LGUs are doing, since the data is not usually available. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to add, because I realized how important it is for everyone to work together.
Thanks, Polly. I think Ryan also has something to add. So go ahead, Ryan.
And on my end naman, for my key takeaway, I think it's really important to stress, not just on the part of the national government, but the local government, is that data transparency is really important, and not just in terms of different policies and technical data, but even something as simple as the composition of waste that emitted by constituencies, because this composition, for example, with Marikina, they were able to conduct different waste characterization studies, and however, they weren't able to make this, which I believe is present for all LGUs, very accessible for the public, and very communicated to the public. This important pertinent data. So I really believe if LGUs and the national government are able to make regularly updated data, not necessarily on recycling or even just innovations, but something as simple as the composition of their waste, how much waste they're producing. We'd be able to have better, more accessible research and better consultations with stakeholders with regards to improving the quality and the performance of plastic waste management policies all over the Philippines. So something as simple as improving the transparency of data and accessibility of the public and researchers to data for LGUs or national government with regards to their plastic waste management performance, I would be able to catalyze a lot of what we need to enhance and strengthen our fight to transition out of our dependence of plastic in the country. So that's for me at least, that's one of my key takeaways.
Thank you so much, Ryan and Polly. I definitely agree on the point of transparency, as well as on the LGUs and different groups are really working together, and collaboration is something that we really emphasize at Climate Reality and in the climate movement, because just from these three LGUs that you've studied, that you've interviewed, and whose findings that you've the findings of which you've shared with us today, ang dami na ring magandang ginagawa. So if they could all do the best practice that each of them is doing, we'd really get far. We go farther when we go together. So this policy note is definitely a step in the right direction, and hopefully it can really get or keep the ball rolling on this collaboration and adoption of best practices. So thanks again to the team, and tuloy lang tayo, no? So pag-ASUP, now we turn it over to, of course, vital part ng pag-uusap, ang kwentuhan, to our story-based campaign team. They'll be giving us an idea about their work and the intersection of the story-based campaign with the policy note campaign. So at this point, I'd like to call Andrea to tackle SBC, no? So Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dani. I'll just be sharing screen again. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So the story-based campaign is really, it's simply about hearing stories on the ground about how people from different walks of life interact with plastic. So we thought about this because having this type of campaign, a lot of people will feel that they can relate whenever they are faced with facts and figures about the rising number of plastic waste in the Philippines. And as a result of not relating to those facts and figures, they can feel like they're not being heard, or the plastic issues are not being taken to heart. So with that, people who don't relate to it will not feel involved in it, even though it's a problem for all of us. They won't take it personally and won't involve themselves in finding solutions. Furthermore, we also recognize the power of storytelling in affecting social change, because it can really influence people's beliefs and values. So our team decided to make a campaign that would make the people relate to plastic issue, and through that, we wanted to involve other people in the SBC campaign. So we enlisted the help of 8 interviewees, and we were lucky enough to have worked with plastic advocates and campaigners from Oceana, Break Free from Plastic, 350 Philippines, Eco Waste Coalition, and social enterprises such as Juan Loop and Trash Cash PH, as well as Sari Sari store owners Lisa Corrales and Sofia Cabalhao. So, yeah.
Hello. So the overall message of the SBC campaign is that the plastic issue is a personal issue. So from the extraction and creation of plastic to its production, to its usage, to its disposal. So talagang yung every stage of the life cycle of plastic, it affects and will continue to affect each and every one of us, no matter which culture, which community or sector we are from. And how we will be affected varies as well. So from what we got now from our interviewees, it can be through the most obvious means, such as clogged drainage systems or water pollution, yung mga nakikita naman talaga natin, in our environment. But it can also be through the most subtle of ways, such as the inhalation of air that has been infected by microplastics, or these microplastics finding its way to the food that we eat. And because the production and usage of plastic is very high in the Philippines, it's important to get to know the situation on the ground before implementing solutions that will affect those who interact with plastic on a daily basis.
All right. So I'm pretty sure everyone's wondering why we decided to have first a policy note document and then go and flip the other way and have a story-based campaign. I guess for us, it was really important to sort of balance the campaign out, to focus on the technical side. So that was the policy note document, being able to talk to LGUs, understanding what the policies they're implementing, what measures they're taking to sort of stop this problem. But we also wanted that to be supported by the stories of people on the ground, people who really work with plastic. So the SBC campaign, for the most part, wanted to shed more light on the actual day-to-day activities of people who encounter plastic in everything that they do. And it sheds light on the problem and hopefully provides possible recommendations for everyday Filipinos. I'm pretty sure if some people were able to follow the SPC campaign 2 weeks ago, you would notice that some of our interviewees actually gave recommendations. So some people suggested to use like the reusable bags. Some of them also suggested, like, I believe there's like the cover, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like made out of corn or something. But I thought it was really cool. If I find it later, I'll put it in the comments. So that was really fun. And seeing how their experiences sort of, what do you call this? Sort of, how do I say that? Sort of support the policies that the LGUs have was really interesting to see. So we really wanted to focus on both parts and make it as cohesive and as holistic as possible.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you so much to the story-based campaign team. Let us not forget to acknowledge their efforts to humanize the plastic problem through storytelling, which I must say is a powerful tool to influence people's beliefs and perceptions. Grabe, Dani, the recommendations we heard from both teams are very relevant and relatable, especially in our campaign against the single-use plastics.
Absolutely, Ari. And I really want to hear again from the whole team. We've learned so much from them already. Now we invite them again to share their personal learning from the entire Mag-ASUP Tayo campaign. So let's have the project manager first. Polly, could you share your key takeaways from the entire campaign experience?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot. But I guess the first thing I would say is that plastic is such a huge problem. I think entering this project, I mean, I knew what the effects were, but I didn't know how difficult and how scary it can be. I didn't even know the existence of microplastics. So it made me realize how important it is for everyone to work hand in hand, whether you're from an LGU or you're working in an LGU or you're an everyday Filipino. You really have to sort of come together and find a way to fix this problem. I think another takeaway from me is that, wow, I got really scared by the environmental crisis that we have. I think over the last 8 months, it sort of made me think and realize that plastic can affect the quality of life that we live in, that we have rather, and it will affect the quality of life of the next generations to come. So we really have to act on it and ensure that we can stop this problem and we can find alternatives for everyone and make sure that these alternatives are accessible. I think lastly, it takes a village to, I guess, make a campaign possible, especially on plastic. So we've been super lucky to have worked with different people from TCRP, Sir Firth, Sir Ian, and of course, our resource persons, our amazing team of volunteers, and our project board led by Doc Mark Abinir and Ma'am Abigail Manampan. It really takes a village, and it takes a lot of people's input and time and energy to make this sort of project possible. And I guess it's also the same with the plastic crisis here in the Philippines. We have to gather people from different sectors and work with them to create a multidisciplinary approach in solving this problem. So yes, that's it for me. Thank you so much to everyone who helped us.
Thanks so much, Polly. Yeah, recently, no Earth Day, Let the Earth Breathe, trended. It was super popular, especially with the youth. Um, it's maybe a strange thing to share, but I have a younger cousin kasi who really I learned recently would cry talaga. Like she would break down whenever the environment and the climate crisis would be brought up. Because she was so scared nga for the future, for the very near term future. Um, and I guess that feeling of anxiety about the climate crisis, the best balm for it is solidarity and agency. Like the Climate's ATM, your work has been phenomenal. We've really witnessed the effort that you've put into this, and it it's a long path, but this is definitely a step nearer to where we want to be. So thank you so much for this entire campaign. So now we move to our deputy project manager, Angelie. Same question. What is your key takeaway from this entire campaign?
Actually, my key takeaway is also related to what Polly and you, Dani, have already said. So, I guess for me, addressing the plastic crisis in our country talaga requires like an open mind. It's not just on the consumers to change our usage of plastic, because Filipinos are dependent on them, because there's currently really no other alternative that's been one tested extensively, that it won't prove to be harmful to the environment, but also just as convenient and affordable as plastics. So I can understand when some say na it might be a slow process to really phase out single-use plastics and shift to a more circular and sustainable economy. But I guess at the same time, we need to work together talaga and cooperate, all the different sectors, and encourage, I guess, the government to provide the means for phasing out plastic, so we can really get down to the root, to the industries naman and their production of single-use plastics. So yeah, we really need to speed up the process talaga kasi we don't really have that much time to and take the necessary steps to get rid of single-use plastics altogether. So yeah, that's it for me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Angelie. And thank you for highlighting that, yes, we must do our best as consumers is something that is always emphasized in the ASAP movement na we have to do our best as consumers, but we really have to call on and push also the producers, the big companies, the big polluters and government to really help us to really do their part through their own efforts and through our policies. So thanks again, Angelie. And now for Trisha, same question. What is your main takeaway from the entire campaign?
Okay, so I actually learned quite a few things, but the biggest realization would have to be that there is not much focus on the effects of plastic during its creation and production stages. The discourse is usually always about the effects of the usage and disposal of plastic. And so, as a consequence, I think that in relation to what Angelie just said, the pressure for sustainable solutions is always dumped on the consumers. And what makes that even more difficult is this pressure is not productive. There won't be that much progress because a lot of these consumers don't have the means to shift to eco-friendly products and practices, even if they wanted to. So yeah, so there's a lot of products now that are eco-friendly, but the question is, are these affordable? Are these accessible? Are these for the masses? So I really think we should shift the focus of finding solutions towards the people who have the power to provide accessible opportunities for the local Filipino to change to a more sustainable lifestyle. And yeah, that's it for me.
I really relate to what you said, Trisha, and thank you for that. It's really a difficult thing not to like really feel the pressure as consumers, also ourselves, to switch to more sustainable practices in terms of waste and our lifestyle. But more than that, it's really the big producers and the people in power who have the capacity to change things on a bigger level. So thank you for that again, Trisha. So for Kat naman, kindly share with us how you've grown as an ASAP advocate.
Yes, thank you. So yon, as one of the policy note writers, I realized how essential it is for us to constantly criticize the steps being done by our government. Kasi kita naman natin, sobrang dami pang dapat i-improve sa database nila, sa accessible information na pwedeng gamitin ng mga researchers. So, nakita talaga natin how important na bigyan na ng attention itong crisis na to with plastic kasi nga it's rapidly backfiring on us humans dahil nagiging evident na to sa effects ng climate change. And also as an ASUP advocate, I learned so much about the grave effects of plastic crisis on marginalized people and how responsible institutions should provide them alternatives to their daily necessities that involve single-use plastics. Like sinabi nga ni Trisha, 'di ba? Paano natin sasabihin na huwag kayong gumamit ng plastic kung hindi naman nila afford yung mga alternatives na eco-friendly, 'di ba? So dapat important pa rin na i-address natin yung needs ng marginalized and kung paano sila kikilos sa change na gusto nating mangyari. I think na it's important that we consider the daily lives of these marginalized people na naka-anchor sa pag-survive lang ng everyday lives nila. So I think na dapat talaga mabigay yung pressure na to sa mga responsible na institutions na merong power to really change yung mga pwedeng gamitin ng mga consumers, which are mostly the marginalized people. And ayun, lastly, as the head of the translations team, I also appreciate the steps ng advocates katulad namin to reach a wider audience dahil tama nga naman, kailangan nating ipaintindi rin sa mga ordinaryong Pilipino, yung ano ba yung mga nangyayaring ito and yung mga comprehensive na paliwanag or explanations ng mga issues katulad ng plastic crisis na naapektuhan yung everyday lives nila. Ayun, thank you.
Thank you, Kat. And I would have to agree, right? It's not just an environmental problem, right? It's also a social problem, and we really have to understand the whole problem from the ground up, right? So it's not just looking at it from like a bird's eye perspective, right? It's really going closer and really listening to everyone and addressing everyone's needs as well. So thank you for that again, Kat. And the same question, let's have Andrea this time.
Hi, thank you so much, Ari. For me, sorry, for me, working on the story-based campaign really opened my eyes to how long the road ahead is in terms of solving the climate crisis. So, ayun, medyo in same line as Trisha and Kat. Even as a development studies student, I only just discovered through this campaign how like well integrated microplastics are in our daily lives. Like I only found out through in the interviews and the art cards na microplastics are already in our food and our body parts, especially as women. So that was somewhat an eye-opening and gut-wrenching experience for me. However, on the brighter side of things naman, I also discovered how far we've come as a country and as like activists. One of our interviewees, Sir Miko from Vacation Plastic, shared how he's worked with people who actually want to emulate the laws we have here in the Philippines. So I guess with that, you can say now we already have the laws and we definitely have the people who are passionate about this cause and will no doubt lead the path to a more sustainable future. And beyond that, there's also ordinary Filipinos who are really well aware of the climate crisis. And the awareness of it is not limited to the ACA team or activist sector because for us Filipinos, it's our reality. Like halos twice a year tayo binabaha. So I guess what we have to do now is really have to emphasize the solutions to this problem rather than just like, okay, babaha, edi, let's just get up on our feet, tapos prepare for the next flood. Ayun, we really have to be aware of the solutions, and the missing ingredient now is implementation of these laws and holding specific groups of people accountable. Like what I said earlier, we really need to hold businesses and corporations accountable as well as our government. And I believe this is where initiatives such as our policy note come into play to serve as a guide for our government.
Yes, that's true. And we realize also now that we're not alone in this fight, right? Like we realize, I think what you mentioned is, you mentioned something like, you also saw like other organizations and other people that you've met through this process, who were also working on similar initiatives and how they're able to help really make the Philippines a plastic-free country. And it's really nice also that it's amazing how all of you were able to even gather all of this information on single-use plastics, given the fact that they're not accessible. So all of you did is really amazing here. So with that, I want to pass the mic on to Ryan this time.
Thank you for that, Ari. So with my experience with the dealing with the government officials and ASUP policy research, along with the impact of government policies and political processes on our people with regards to not just managing plastic waste in general, but our greater fight for climate justice, I realize that our political structures and processes are really powerful and essential to solving our sustainability and climate problems. As we all know, SUP dependence and climate change at large is a systematic problem. Our usual slogans of dealing with this problem are usually individual changes, such as diba, bringing your own reusable water bottle, and different ones such as using paper bags and reusable bags, lessening your own plastic consumption, saving your water, etc. And well, yes, all of these are important and do contribute to the larger, to solving the larger problem at large. None of these are enough to really affect the macro scale in a lasting and sustaining manner if we only do these on our own alone. And I believe that what we need as citizens is to realize that climate change is not merely a problem that can be solved through individual actions and changes in your lifestyle. It's an economic problem caused by plastic dependence, a political problem caused by the unwillingness of the government to enforce anti-pollution laws, along with a social problem influenced by our current consumerist culture. To truly fight climate change, what we need is a system change. System change ang solusyon sa climate change. Kailangan natin bumoto para sa mga lider na may mga solusyon sa climate crisis. At kailangan din natin kumilos para itulak ang mga sustainable na socio-economic and political reforms. At lastly, kailangan natin tulungan ang isa't isa sa ating mga sariling community para masolusyonan ang mga iba't ibang problemang dulot ng climate crisis. And yun lang ang mga paraan para maabot natin o makamit natin ang hustisyang pangklima na lasting at sustainable talaga para sa ating kinabukasan. Hindi lang bilang Pilipino at bilang mga citizens of the world, bilang tao ng ating mundo. At yun lang po ang masasabi ko bilang conclusion ko sa mga experiences ko with running Mag-ASUP Tayo. Thank you very much, guys.
Power. Thank you so much, Ryan. And thank you to the entire Climate's 8 team for sharing your learnings and takeaways with us. To our viewers, please send your questions to our speakers so we can discuss it during our open forum in a while. I'm sure we all want to hear more about them and to discuss more in depth Mag-ASUP Tayo. In the meantime, let's hear more announcements from the Climate Reality Project Philippines.
We are proud to announce that the Climate Reality Philippines will be the co-presenter of UP Green League's Ambassadorship Program. The Ambassadors Program is UP Green League's response to the calls for genuine and concrete implementation of climate solutions. With the Philippines as one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world, most especially during this pandemic, it is imperative that we strengthen our work towards people and planet-centered adaptation, climate justice, protection of envi defenders, and empowerment of the Filipino people for climate action. Sign up using the link in the screen and be one of UPGL's environmental ambassadors. So the link is bit.ly/GL29 ambassadorship. Exciting benefits await our future ambassadors.
We are also calling all climate advocates, writers, and poets to join When Is Now, a global creative collaboration for urgent climate action. Organized by the AGAM Agenda, Climate Vulnerable Forum, and Institute for Climate and Sustainable Cities, When Is Now is an open, evolving call for creative expression and collaboration to demand for urgent climate action. All you need is a seed of an idea, a string of words, and your willingness to share your experience as well as acknowledge and respond to others' experiences of the climate crisis. To learn more about this initiative and how you can submit poems and seeds of creative climate action in many different forms, visit whenisnow.org. Altogether, AGAM Agenda will be interweaving lines of poetry into a web that stretches across the planet, asking when and demanding now.
We would also like to invite everyone to order your copy of Harvest Moon, Poems and Stories from the Edge of the Climate Crisis. Harvest Moon is an anthology of loves and lives of stories that thrive at the borders and edge of the climate crisis. The book features over 50 award-winning and emerging writers, photographers, and artists across Africa, Asia, the Pacific, and Latin America. In keeping with the vision of a beautiful yet accessible book for diverse readers, the Agam Agenda and Institute for Climate and Sustainable Cities are offering this limited Philippine edition at a significantly marked down price. Order yours now at the link flashed on your screen, which is agamagenda.com/harvest-moon. That's agamagenda.com/harvest-moon.
Thank you, Ari. At this point, we would also like to announce those with the winning answers to our Klimatotohanan question from the last episode, which was, para kanino ka bumoboto? So congratulations to Jacob Olanyo, Alexis Pepito, and Maria Katrina Camille Loria Olivar. Climate Reality Philippines will coordinate with you for your prize. So very quickly, we would also just like to read through all the answers of our three winners. So para kanino ka bumoboto? Jacob Olanyo said, bilang isang makakalikasang pre-service teacher, naniniwala ako na marami pang kailangan gawing para mapaunlad ang environmental education sa ating bansa. Boboto ako sa mga taong maniniwala na mahalaga ang edukasyon at ang kalikasan. Boboto ako sa mga taong nagpapalakas ng panawagan sa climate justice at climate activism. Boboto ako para sa Pilipinas na naging primaryang biktima ng climate change. Boboto ako para sa kalikasang namamatay bawat araw. Boboto ako para sa mga nawalan ng tirahan at kabuhayan, ang masang api na kinalimutan ng pamahalaan. Boboto ako para sa mga susunod na salinlahi sa kabataan, ang pag-asa ng bayan. Boboto ako para sa mga batang tuturuan ko sa hinaharap bilang isang guro. So salamat, Jacob. Alexis Pepito naman, sabi niya, bilang isang Pilipino, bumoboto ako para sa kapakanan ng aking kapwa Pilipino. Maiangat ang mga nasa laylayan at maipaglaban ang kanilang karapatan para sa magandang kinabukasan ng bayan. Bilang isang mamamayan na kabilang sa bagong henerasyon, bumoboto ako para sa susunod pa ng mga henerasyon upang sila ay magkaroon ng maganda at ligtas na pamumuhay. Bilang isang mag-aaral, bumoboto ako upang malabanan ang kamangmangan bilang isang Katoliko na naniniwala na ang tao ang siyang tagapangasiwa ng mga nilikha ng Panginoon. Bumoboto ako para sa kabutihan ng kanyang mga nilikha upang mabigyan ng kaluwalhatian ang kanyang pangalan. Bilang isang mamamayan at bahagi ng sanlibutan, bumoboto ako para kay Inang Kalikasan. Napakaganda. And finally, Maria Katrina Camiloria Olivar. Siguro nahirapan ko nung nursery. I can sympathize as a mahabang pangalan din. So sabi niya, isa po ako sa mga volunteer youth. Isa rin po akong biology student. Napakalaking opportunity ang bumoto dahil maaari nitong ma-save ang ibang tao. Hindi lang ako bumoboto para sa sarili ko, kundi para sa pamilya ko, sa mga taong nangangailangan ng tulong mula sa isang servant leader, may mga taong umaasa na makaranas ng maayos na pamamahala. Ayaw ko alisin ang hope na ito sa kanilang mga puso. Bumoboto rin ako para sa kalikasan, ang mga leaders na magsusulong ng mga program para sa kalikasan. Kailangan natin ng leader na kakapain ang mga simpleng tao, ang mga katutubo, mga estudyante. Nagpapasalamat ako sa mga nagbabayad ng buwis. Sila ang dahilan bakit ako nakakapag-aral. Kaya boboto ako dahil gusto kong ang pera ng bayan ay mapunta sa maayos na pamamahala. So again, congratulations at maraming salamat sa ating mga winners. For this week, our Klimatotohanan question is, do you have an anti-single-use plastic ordinance in your locality? What is your local government doing to reduce or ban single-use plastics? Comment your answer down and we will randomly choose 3 winners to receive special prizes. We will announce the lucky winners in the next episode.
That's right, Dani. And before we proceed, I would like to just recognize those beautiful answers from the winners in our last episode. Those are very helpful, and I hope everyone will really vote responsibly and vote wisely. for our next leaders. So for the next question, I mean for the questions for this episode, we really look forward to reading your answers as well. And now, before we proceed with our next topic, shout out muna tayo sa ating mga viewers. We have Riza JT Dogiles watching from Salcedo, Eastern Samar. Hello. We have Hadra, hello. Hajar Kabalu watching from Cotabato City. We have Ivan A. Carrion watching from Nueva Ecija. We have Michelle Rualo watching from Bulacan. We have Dana April Joy C. Kulango watching from Minglanila, Cebu. And hello, we have also Diana Angela M. De Leon from Malasiki, Pangasinan, Lord May M. Kagang from Cebu City, Che De Villa watching from Las Piñas, Clara Holgado watching from Caloocan City, Patricia Santiago from Bulacan, Eva Arnejo watching from Cebu. Wow, we have a lot. Ida Alido Avenir watching from Makati, Shane Lee Faye S. Bahala from Iloilo City, Charles Tabuada from Bohol, Cedric C. Campillo watching from Carmen, Cebu Province, Ian Bruce S. Ligaray watching from Mandaue City, Cebu, Ban As, James Kevin A. BS Devcom 1A, CTUM, Jerome M. Ranciman watching from Palawan, Journalyn Fulgencio watching from Cavite, Maria Katrina Camille Doria Olivar. She's here again watching from Los Baños, Laguna. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Ben Anthony Bagalehog watching from Quezon City, Luella V. Ladres, first year BS and Visay student of Bulacan State University, Valerie Joy Rotacio watching from Infanta, Quezon, Criza Tisorima watching from Baybay City, Leyte, Maria Isabel Rentino watching from Aklan, Shane Gabriel Cristuta Negros Occidental, and Maria Michelle and I Perez watching from Batangas City, Fernando Gabor from Zamboanga del Norte, Dan Mark B. Bore watching from Coronadal City, South Cotabato, Faith Rebong from N. Samar, Hannah Camille Aguilon or Orienta or Mendora, and Karen May Mercado watching from Ilocos Norte. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's Klimatotohanan episode. So far, we have no questions in our FB comment section, pero kung may pahabol pa, comment lang po tayo and we'll try to answer even after the show. Ngayon naman, we will once again invite someone from the team to wrap up the discussion by answering this question. What happens next after the Mag-ASUP Tayo campaign? Anyone from the Climate Aid team can take the question. So once again, I'll repeat it. What happens next after the Mag-ASUP Tayo campaign?
Okay, hi, I can take the question. So as we mentioned at the start of the episode, we've been working on this project for the last 8 months with TCRP. As part of our development class called Dev 107, or project management class. Unfortunately, we will be turning over this project next month. But as for now, we're still working on the sustainability plan of the project. That means we're preparing the documents, we're preparing the materials for turnover. We've also gotten word from our partner LGUs, and they said that they would be willing to even give more information to the current policy notes that we have. And if ever TCRP is interested in continuing the campaign and currently updating the document, then we'll be forwarding all the information to them. And hopefully this will be the starting point. Obviously, as mentioned earlier, there's so much more to do, and this will be the starting point for everyone to work on this problem. So right now we're working on the turnover, and we're also finalizing the information for the policy note document.
All right, thanks so much, Polly. Before we move on to the last part of the show, would anyone else from Climate 8 want to add anything to what Polly has already shared?
Yes, I can add to what you said. So, for the policy note specifically, it seems like recently some LGUs are open to providing more information actually. So we had to inform him that the policy note is already done on our part. So after turnover, if it's possible, or if the CRP would want to, so since this was the starting point nga, they can continue. You guys can continue the policy note, adding more information that LGUs would want to provide, adding more LGUs, looking to other regions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angelie. Anyone else from Climate's 8 team? All right. If none, thank you once again to Climate's 8 and all of our viewers. We have a comment from Facebook. So Diana Angela De Leon, sabi niya, hold on, let me scroll as a Gen Z na thunders at this, guys. Nakakalungkot kasi napakaraming gustong mag-switch to low-waste lifestyle pero hindi widely available ang sustainable alternatives. Totoo yan. Or hindi, hindi sila mass-produced. Kaya may kamahalan ang mga ito. Yep. That's very true, no? Hindi ganun ka-accessible or ganun ka-affordable yung mga nakikita natin sa zero-waste shops. Pero let's push sana na dumami pa sila. May help din from government para mapababa natin yung presyo either ma-provide or makuha yun ng citizens. Ma-provide sa or makuha yun ng citizens natin. From ENP Pino, in my opinion, plastic-related ordinances that target consumers and retailers are band-aid at best. Business permitting can be attached to plastic reduction. Definitely, that's a great suggestion. Also, the government can curb plastic pollution by becoming primarily responsible for recycling plastics already in the system. Absolutely. So we have yung mga materials recovery facility. Unfortunately, national recycling efficiency is still at 9%. So there's a lot of room for improvement talaga. Paula Love Ramas Bernasor. Hi, Miss Paula. Here, kahit banned ang business owners from giving plastic, meron pa rin lumulusot. Talagang dapat i-increase ang price ng plastic products, put a high environmental tax, or something from the providers mismo para the businesses will work talaga on looking for a non-plastic alternative. Again, from Diana Angela De Leon, thank you so much for chiming into the conversation. No, LGUs should also support the locals who produce these kinds of products. Yes, in our municipality, we produce goods that are made of bamboos, pero sadly hindi ganon ka-popular. Even bamboo baskets, we use this when we go to the market. Yep, marami from not just bamboo, pati abaka, pati yung I think water lilies, maraming products sana na pwedeng gawing alternative pero hindi siya naging popular. Hindi siya nabibigyan masyado ng suporta. So sana nga mabigyan natin ng suporta yun para lumaganap talagang ating mga equal alternatives. Mark Jude Lanyog Retweeta, here in Iriga City, Bicol, we have an ordinance that plastic should not be used. So we use eco bags or bayong. Yes, no, may mga probinsya talaga na hindi nag-a-allow ng use ng plastic. I remember when I traveled to Palawan before sa El Nido, I'm not sure, I don't live there. Of course, I'm not living there as a local. Pero sa experience ko lang doon, yung mga bankero talagang aware sila kung ilan yung plastic na nadadala nila or na-consume nila kasi binibilang daw talaga and ino-audit. So hopefully ganun tayo ka-strict or ganun yung effort from implementing bodies to really monitor how much plastic and to limit it. From, sorry, I'll call on Ari pa hindi magsawa sa akin yung audience. No? Ari, go ahead if you want to read the rest of the comments.
All right. So this is from Lay, not from Lay Kathleen Delphine. So she said here in Ibahay, Aklan, they don't usually use plastic and instead an alternative is to bring their own bayongs. Yes, like what was mentioned a while ago, or literal small grocery baskets. That is so nice in helping the environment in a small way. So yes, that's really a major alternatives that we're seeing. And this one is from Diana Angela De Leon. Nakakalungkot mang ibahagi, ngunit hanggang ngayon ay wala pa kaming ordinansa sa aming munisipalidad na nagbabawal sa paggamit ng mga single-use plastics. Ganun pa man, bilang isang kabataan na may kamalayan sa napapanahong problema sa kapaligiran, I take my part in refusing to use single-use plastics. So that's really nice to hear. And she also says, tinatanggihan ko ang mga plastic bags na binibigay ng mga tindera sa palengke at nagdadala ako ng sariling eco bag. I also bring my tumbler lalo na kung buong araw ang lakad para maiwasan ang pagbili ng bottled water. Recently, hindi na rin ako masyadong bumibili ng mga gamit at hindi naman talaga kailangan. I also switched to being a menstrual cup user from being a disposable sanitary pad user. So that's really great, actually, and I want to echo the refusal of using plastic bags. So sometimes people just aren't aware, and maybe they do it out of respect also for the business, right? Because that's the practice of the business, right? And they want to give you the best service as possible, but maybe they're not aware that you just really prefer no plastic bags also. So it's really nice that you're able to even show them, so not just tell them to not use it, so you're showing them that you're actually the one who is taking initiative in using an alternative. And also, as a fellow person who uses a menstrual cup, I'd have to say that's a really great initiative also. And it's really nice that we're able to share this with others and really talk about it as well, to remove the stigma also, and really show everyone that sanitary pads don't have to be the norm also, and we don't have to be ashamed of it. It's something very normal. So menstrual cups are a great sustainable alternative for that. So thank you so much for sharing that, Miss Diana. I really appreciate your answer. And I think that's our last comment, right, Dani? So thank you everyone who participated in our episode tonight. We hope to see you again in our next episodes. Please do not forget to join our community on all social media platforms. Follow the Climate Reality Project PH on Instagram at Climate Reality PH and Twitter at Climate Real PH. You can also visit the socials of our guests, organizations, and partners with their handles flashed on the screen. So that's Now You Know Youth. Oh, sorry, yeah. So you will see the social media handles also of our partner organizations. So thank you also to our partners who have been very supportive of our initiatives as well. So, and again, reminder for the certificate of participation, kindly answer the feedback form. And the link is bit.ly/klimatotohanan-ep27-feedback. So again, the link is bit.ly/klimatotohanan/ep27-feedback.
Thank you so much, Ari. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Climate's 8 team. Again, maraming salamat. This episode marks the closing of the 3-week-long, this latter part, they've been working on it since September, the 3-week-long campaign, but it can continue with you. Well, with you, with all of us. The call begins with you and your community to continue the ASUP movement. As the name of their campaign suggests, tuluyan lang natin Mag-ASUP Tayo. No? Napaka-daming nakakontribute talaga ng tao sa tao na pakikipag-usap. So tuloy lang natin yan. Again, thank you everyone. This has been Klimatotohanan, a webcast organized and led by climate reality leaders to tackle the urgent climate issues of today and tomorrow. Why Klimatotohanan? Because we need real talk and real action on the climate crisis. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.